Those are carrots.
Oh, carrots.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's carrot.
Oh, yeah.
The human being was put in the garden, le'ovda u'leshomra, to work and to watch, or to till and to tend, to serve it and to preserve. You're commanded to work, to nourish yourself, to use the things of nature, and yet to take care that that work doesn't get out of hand. In modern Hebrew, sustainable development is pituach bar kayama, like an Aramaic phrase. How would you say in Jewish sustainable development? I would say lovda uleshomra, working and watching, working in such a way that the work doesn't get out of balance. There's no connection anymore between the physical labor and the spiritual consciousness. So when we think about how we reconnect these different parts of our lives, on the way, we'll be able to form a more sustainable society.
And they found that Arduf is a very strong name. We wanted to create a really biodynamic farm, a good relationship between the farm, the cow walking, and the field. Cows are produce compost for the field, and the field produce food for the cows. I thought it's better for us to grow only in Israel, not for export, because we want to sell it cheap and fresh. We want to know our customers. We put all our power to work with cows and with small vegetable garden. I think we are not pollute the underground water. I saw that our vegetables grow very, very good with our compost. I am sure. I don't need the research. The research needs us. So they pay now to collect cow manure, and I put it in boxes and send it to them. We didn't want to make money. For good salaries and to continue to develop our dreams. We said that in Israel we have to produce electricity from the sun and compost from the cow manure. And other places in Israel think better to take the cow manure to place to make gas and electricity and chemical fertilizer to the field. The cow manure revolution. It's like a bank of compost. Never leave the bank without money.
The community and the garden is part of our life, our family's life.
I think that we're educating our kids to be better citizens of the world, better citizens of the country.
As Shnat Shmita, you know, after 7 years we don't, we let the soil rest. One of the basic principles of the permaculture is first observe. So we had 1 year to observe the place, and we looked and we saw interesting things, and on the basis of this observation we did the plans. We have a big plan of this garden. Bishvat, on the holiday of the trees, every senior had a child with him that helped him, and they planted the trees. I don't know why they decided to put prime ministers, but that's the way that our children, you know, now they know Menachem Begin. It's an educational message for children and also for architects and designers. And again, I'm going back to the permaculture, that another principle is find or at least 3 benefits for one thing. So here there is the roofing, and also we can collect water from it. Also look and find what you have here beneath your nose, like we say in Hebrew.
So what I am putting in my body. Everything I want to do by myself. Like getting organic milk. Nobody knows about organic milk. There was a very old woman living in the rush of Tel Aviv, and she was going every week with a taxi. She has no car, and she collects from all over the neighborhood tanks for 5 liters and empty, and she went with the taxi to a cowshed far away from Tel Aviv, and coming back with full of organic. And the idea was that the cow is eating, you know, real food. Every week I took those 2 containers with milk, organic milk, And I made my butter, my cheese, my yogurt, my everything from this organic milk. And I, of course, feed my kids with unboiled milk, which was a terrible idea. Everybody said to me, "Wow, what are you doing? You are going to kill your babies." And they are very big now, and it was the start. So now we have a very nice cooperative. We have in about 130 products. Yeah. And we have also 130 mishpachot, families. It's a kind of community project. All the things are organic. We are buying it for people that we trust. And if not, we stop working with it. Like, I like it. I really like it. For me, every Thursday, 3.5 years, it's like chagiga. You know the word? Celebration. It's now like a reshet.
It's a network.
If you want to see some crazy people doing their crazy dream, come to see us. At the end, in Thursday, we have vegetables. That's the story. And sometimes it's a miracle.
The idea of permaculture, in short, is to expand edges, to reach the best or the top of productivity, as if it was a tropical garden.
Permaculture is about collecting abilities of how to live, keeping seeds, growing lots of food, rainwater harvesting, but it's not enough.
Permaculture, I said that we put functions together. This is why we put the trees inside the vegetable gardens and the chickens inside the trees and the vegetables garden. So everything is working together. We actually see the whole garden as a compost pile. The house and the garden are, we're thinking about them as one system. We don't think of like agriculture and architecture. It's one piece. We do both things together. It's very fitting the Jewish spirit.
Al Sulam is the one that translated the Zohar Kadosh. He explained that you have to read the Bible not as a story, not as an historical story, but as if it's talking only about one person. Avraham is me, and Eliezer is me, and Sarah is me. All of them is me. And everything is happened in my spirit, in my body, in my soul, in my life. And it's very, green ego is very big. Because you can be very, very proud of collecting water and doing all this really unique and beautiful stuff that no one is doing, and you're very special doing it. And it's not enough.
We don't have a flush toilet. It's saving 60% of the water in the house. 60% of the water of the house are going just in flushing toilets with clean water, drinking water. And Israel is a desert, and we don't have much water. And today there are a few hundred of compost toilets in houses.
Another thing we speak about in permaculture is that the first year of the designing, you should not do anything in the soil practically. You just have to observe for 1 year. This is fitting perfectly with the 7-year cycle of the Shemitah, because the 7th year of the Shemitah, when you don't grow anything, is also the 7th year of the productivity of the last Shemitah. It's also the first year of the next Shemitah. We got a very, very high level of productivity after 7 years. Lots of fruits everywhere, lots of water, and ponds everywhere, almost growing fish ourselves. The mitzvot are telling us to do is to prepare next Shabbat from Motzei Shabbat HaKodem, from Sunday morning. Yes. Every day, one day you go and buy the fish, one day you change the mattresses, I don't know, whatever you want to do. If you worked hard 6 days of the week, so you'll have Shabbat ready. People finish permaculture course, but they don't know how to really how they are going to live in 7 years, and they will design that in 7 years they won't have to go to the supermarket anymore. He calls permaculture planning for catastrophe. It's not working like that because people are not nervous enough that in 7 years they won't have the ability of going and buying something. So the Shabbat is teaching us in small how to practice the mental ability to prepare ourselves ahead.
My grandfather bought the first shop 1935. He bought from the people that built it.
We know that this is a country of immigrants and it's a market of immigrants. So alongside with the immigrants who came here in the first, second aliyot, beginning of the century, we have all those who came in the 50s and we have all those who came in the 90s and so on. So we find Russians and we find Ethiopians and we find all kinds of North Americans around, the Breslovers on one side, the Karlibachs on the other side, okay? All those women who won't start their Shabbos if they don't have enough organic quinoa.
Regression. It's a kind of, malls, and now everybody wants to go back to the markets, to the open markets. It's great. For me, it's great.
We are in what we call the wheat zone, okay? So each one of those groups brought their own special breads, and they're all here, even the guys from India.
Different experience of buying. When you go inside the supermarket, you're buying from the shelves. Here you're buying from the people that they know you know them. You can borrow money, you can put the things in the store until you bring the car. Everything is different. The personal attachment, it's really different. There is no baladi, forget it. I'm sorry for that, but it's vanished. All over the world, agriculture it was always a very tough business. And there's no much profit in this business. And now they started in Israel is to bring more fruit from the same tree and that you can preserve it much more time. It's not tasty like before, for sure. It's not the same, for sure. It's I call it, for us, mostly it's plastic vegetables.
My father bought this shop in 1932 when he came from Iraq. It was a shop that sold condiments, dry fruit and nuts. And from this kind of business we developed it into the health food store, and then we entered more and more into the organic store. I believe this was the first organic store in Israel since 1982. We're trying to be competitive, although there are big chains of health food store all over Israel. We're looking now into a new era in Israel where the products are more and more organic and less natural.
People have other measurements, social justice and where was it grown. I know a lot of people that eat organic and will not eat from there, for example. Or on the other hand, I know a lot of people that would eat organic and would eat only from there, where they stand politically.
We don't get money for this. It's like a work for the community.
Like it is in your own home, meaning that all the food is cooked on Friday and there's a blech or a plata and the big pot.
Every day when I open here, the restaurant, I said, today it's my day. Every day. Big idea. It was my fantasy all my life. Teimania al Ptilia. Teimania, it's my Yemenite, yeah. And on Ptilia, it's my talent from my mother.
Full of memories. For me, the memories when I was a child, the mixture here was very special because people came from East Europe and they came from Morocco and they came from Kurdistan and the Palestinians were here. So this mixture of food, for me, it's Israeli kitchen. In my house, when I was a child, my parents came from Poland and they knew food from East Europe, Jewish food. We bring home tahini and chopped salad and eggplant, and it lives side by side, not as a fusion. Side by side in the same table, we had herring and kreplach and eggplants and trina and hummus, chopped salad. So for me, this is a real Israeli kitchen.
The multicultural culinary landscape of the Galilee. Ezov was first mentioned in the Bible in a ritual context, as a purifying in the temple. It was mixed with cedar wood and red stuff. Zatar is the Arabic name. In Hebrew, it's Ezov. When the Bible was translated from Hebrew to Latin, it became Hyssopus. And the tradition of picking in this area goes back to the Stone Age, to the hunters and gatherers. This encounter between modern society and traditional foodways. The younger generations, after they get over their being enchanted with Western foods and Western ways, they go back to being interested in their traditions, what their grandparents were doing.
One of the conditions was that the vegetables would have no chemical ingredients in them, that they will be 100% natural. The farmers, their knowledge about organic growing is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. So they would take farmers from here to have special courses in Israel to get knowledge of organic growing.
40 families from Tzur Hadassah know people here, and both sides are equal. They sell, we buy. It's very thin line that we're walking. I mean, one of the main reasons I think I like this project is because I feel that if I plant positive memory in the heads of these little children, they only see soldiers all the time and they hear bad things. And if they see also other kind of people, Israelis, their friends, that they come and they're not afraid of them and they meet their children even though they cannot really speak with them, and they play with them on the tree and they eat vegetable with their father and drink coffee with their father and they're nice. That's enough for me. Even if nothing else, at least they will remember this. And it's not going to be only black memory.
We can see here the national water carrier pumping out the water from the Sea of Galilee to the Negev. We are not allowed to use this water.
Land was expropriated for the purpose of passing the carrier through here for logistic reasons of getting the water from the Kinneret to the rest of the country. The government has official policy to try to reduce agriculture in the Arab sector by limiting water allotments.
This valley is owned mainly by Arabs. You can find Arab villages. This is Bain Nujidat. It's mixed village, Arabs and Bedouins. The government gives Jewish farmers 98% of the quotas.
Right.
And 2% for Arabs. The Arabs who are using this water, they are using 98% of it for agricultural purposes. While the Jewish farmers, they are using it's the range of 70-75%, which means that 25% of it they are not using it and they're just wasting this water in order to maintain their quota. We are using Baladi varieties, and we have varieties that were grown and were inherited from 4 or 5 generations ago.
But here, in this case, it means the native varieties which they've always grown without irrigation. Right. Okay. So he's referring to things that they can grow which are just rain-fed.
I'm very interested in creating job opportunities for these people. Just maintaining the status quo, it will not help these people. So I'm very interested in water. But at the same time, I'm very interested in the sustainable methods. We have the knowledge, we have the know-how, but we need water, and the government is not allowing us to have this water.
Israel has a historical social safety net, which began to break down as Israel's economy began to become looser. 22% of Israelis, as of 2003, from across Israel's religious and ethnic spectrum, suffered from food insecurity. Food security is when you have sufficient, adequate, and dignified sources of food on a reliable basis so that you can eat without experiencing the unpleasant feelings that we call hunger. In Hebrew, the word for hunger is ra'av, which is the same word that's used in the Bible where Yosef is dealing with the question of a famine in Egypt. If an Israeli hears the word ra'av, if they're religious, they might associate it with this concept of famine, and it's used in a modern context to talk about starvation. You know, that there's starvation in Africa, or there's this drought, and so they'll say, what are you talking about? There is no hunger in Israel. There's plenty of food on the shelves. An Ethiopian soldier that he was taking home food from his army base every weekend because his family didn't have enough food. Israel doesn't have a national school lunch program. Israel doesn't have an electronic benefits transfer program, doesn't have a food stamp program.
There are many people who are trying to resuscitate the social democratic left in Israel, which kind of just sort of evaporated.
Lil, it's, as you felt, it's a very different place. all around more than 150 families and more than 500 children. Yeah. For the first 20 years, we had a herd of goats, and we make very good cheeses. Many different kinds of people live here. Pluralistic village. We have Dati'im, we have Chozrim B'Tshuva, we have ordinary kibbutznik who left and came to the wilderness. We don't have electricity. We have solar panels,
Oh, okay.
generators, and big batteries, and one windmill. Our children grew with separating compost. For them, it's that's the way. Fantastic kids. We are proud, very proud. They're idealistic. They know that will be bring the change. In many ways, we are very early this century. We did what everyone wants to do now. We lived from our food that we grow.
We have 6 children. They've all been involved in environmental agriculture, and so Micha started looking around for something that would connect them to the soil, connect them to Sipori, this village. We converted the old chicken house into a green building. Very outside surface, he didn't want to put a chemical sealer after he's done everything so green. It's the whites of eggs. So I had this demand, Ima, go up to Nazareth and buy me 100 eggs. The olive press in Hebrew is a bet bag. That's the machinery that we received from Italy. There's trees that go back to 600, 800 years old, and it's a very special place to go.
Mainly, we work by hand. The moment the olive falls to the ground, it starts rotting.
It was a good idea for Micha to join the olive business, and it brought my children involved in it.
We were inspired by the food conference that Chazon runs in the United States. There's no real public discussion on the issue of the impact of the decisions we make about what food we eat, what food we grow, what food we buy, where we buy it, on the environment, on our health. An organization called the Arava Alumni Peace and Environmental Network, which is the first membership organization in the Middle East, which has members who are Palestinians, Israelis, and Jordanians. And we can all still live together and work together, even though we don't necessarily agree on politics or history or religion. There's one thing we have to agree on, and that is protecting the land that we all love.
I always felt a great deal of spirituality in producing food.
Bridges can be built amongst people interested in the environment.
About the integration of arts and farming. And they're making a very conscious effort to reincorporate everything from, cow shit to the people we cast aside in society.
There are many connections to be made between Judaism and our daily lives.
Nature doesn't recognize political borders. And the first step to sustainability is learning to work together in peaceful and harmonious relationship with nature and with each other.